Keith joins us for another edition of the Shea Anything podcast. Lots to discuss with Noah Syndergaard and his re-injury setback. Also, Stroman, what will Lugo do when he gets back? How good has Jonathan VR been? Rogers Hornsby's in the mix somehow. We'll talk about all of it. It starts right now. All right, welcome to the show, everybody. A reminder to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribing helps us, even if you download each episode to listen. Just hit the subscribe button, please. It helps us out. Reminder that Shea Anything is brought to you by Verizon. It's 5G built right for the Mets, from the network more people rely on only on Verizon. Keith, it's good to have you with us. Haven't talked to you since the news that Noah Syndergaard's got a little elbow inflammation. That still feels like really the headline of the week, even as the Mets with their third string guys keep winning games. The fact that Noah Syndergaard's not going to pick up a ball for 6 weeks or so, that's potentially a devastating blow to the hopes the Mets had to have him help out this year.
Well, it's certainly not a positive. You would want Noah in the rotation. We were kind of hoping it would be, I was hoping the All-Star break, second half of the season. Someone's got to put a rein on the player. The player is going to go out there, and it's Noah. Noah's got the ginormous ego. It's going to go out there and want to throw 95, 97 miles an hour. And we're reading the reports, and I'm going, got to pull this guy back a little bit. And but it just should never have happened. And you've got coming off a serious surgery. You always are on the cautious side. You ease the player back, and now, like every re-injury or reset back, it's another. Now we're looking into August. That's unfortunate.
Isn't that, though? I mean, you would know better than I in the player's mindset, but isn't it easier said than done to tell a player in a contract year, hey, I know you feel healthy, but this is an important injury to come back from. You got to take your time. When Syndergaard knows, if I get back in June or July and I throw well for half a year, I'm going to make a lot more money than if I should show up in August and September.
Or if I blow my elbow out again and get a second surgery, a lot of players don't come back from it.
That's
so it's
true,
a double-edged sword.
It just goes to show you how delicate returning from Tommy John surgery is. The MRI revealed no structural damage. He just has some swelling. And I mean, throwing a baseball 98 miles an hour results in swelling naturally. So they found something that, they thought was worrisome, but in reality, it's very small. And still, that means 6 weeks, no picking up a baseball. And I know that's probably being cautious, but it certainly it's a strike to the Mets. It's a blow to the Mets, who were hoping that they'd have the ability to have him contribute this year. And Keith, one of the things that we've had Jim Duquette on the show a couple of days this week, and he always talks about Memorial Days when front offices come together and say, okay, where are we? What is our team? What are our chances? Do we think we're going to be buyers, sellers? What do we need on the market? And Keith, I mean, you've done enough Mets games to know that I don't think Zach Scott and Sandy Alderson have any idea what their team is, because even though they're in first place by 2.5 games, even though they're over 500, this current roster is not an accurate reflection of what the team will look like later in the season. So what do you think they do? How closely do you think they should look at this current roster in terms of evaluating the future?
Well, 17 guys on the IL. It's kind of I don't know if it's unprecedented. It certainly is in my experience, my baseball experience. These players will eventually come back. I think we've got how many relief pitchers do we have on the staff? We have an overload of relief pitchers. And I think that is their philosophy, is that's why we are carrying so many. And ironically, we only have one left-hander, and we have 9 right-handers, I believe it is, out there in the bullpen. So they're gonna lean on the bullpen to carry them. And now, remember, now we got Taiwan back now. He's going to throw tonight's game against the Braves, the Friday night game against the Braves. That's a big shot in the arm right there because he's been pitching really brilliantly. So I don't think they need to do anything other than what they've done. They're trying to find lightning in the bottle with McKinney and Maven, and also the other guy they brought up, the veteran, the right-hand hitter, hit the home run.
Brandon Drury.
Yeah. So they're winning. They're in first place. So there's no panic. I guarantee you if they're 5 out, they're worried. If they're under 500, it's a problem. But as long as this team keeps treading water, and that can't even say they're treading water, and we're coming off a doubleheader sweep against Colorado. They're hard to win doubleheaders. They're getting great pitching. Pitching has obviously been carrying them. So just ride this as long as you can. And then if it gets dicey, then you got to change your philosophy. But right now, they don't have to do anything. The pitching's been carrying it, and like I said, they're gonna lean on that bullpen, and that's why they got that many guys out there, so they don't wear out that bullpen, because you can wear out that bullpen.
Yeah, we're going to get into that bullpen later on, and why I think you're 100% right about not wearing it out now, because just because it's a strength now does not mean it will still be in July and August. And did you happen to see, I'm just curious, did you see Cameron Maven trying to get his first hit as a Met yesterday?
I saw it. It was a great, you know what? I mean,
that was an incredible play.
It was a really heads up play by Rogers, the shortstop.
Yeah.
To get that ball on the rebound and throw home and get the lead runner. I've never seen a play like that. It was extraordinary. So Maven just got to be shaking his head. He ties now with was it 0 for 26? He ties Charlie Smith from the 1964 Mets. I played the 1964 Mets in Stratomatic, so I know all about Charlie Smith. But I mean to tell you, we would have drove in 2 runs, and now he's in the record book, ready to maybe be the only guy, maybe an 0 for 27. And I feel for him. The game can be cruel, and it is really being unjust to him right now.
I couldn't believe that. Not only is Trevor Story's out of the game, so the backup shortstop's in, and the deflection off the glove right to him. And then that might have been the only play he had. It happened to be the best play available to go home with that. I just felt for Cameron Maven because, he was so good for the Yankees in this exact same role in 2019. I still think maybe you got something there, although Pilar and Almora, who knows when they'll come back, and he'll probably be gone. We want to get personal to Keith here for a second. We'll start with Reaction Revisited. This is a clip from Tuesday night, which I saw was replayed on some other national networks because it was very amusing and it was a great story that I certainly hadn't heard before. This is from the booth, and let's take a look.
Did you know that Rogers Hornsby was a coach with the 62 Mets?
Yes, he was. Do you also know, Barry, that in 1947, 46, he was the minor league hitting instructor for the Cardinals? And he told my father off of 48, my dad, off of a very good year in Double-A, highly touted Roger Hornsby, went to my father and said, "You'll never make it to the big leagues." So my dad did not like Rogers Hornsby.
I've heard that he was kind of an irascible sort.
What does Rogers Hornsby get from telling your dad he's not going to make it? Why would he say such a thing?
I don't know. Rogers Hornsby was noted to be a very irascible player, manager, coach. He was not well liked. He was just a real hard-nosed son of a gun and took no quarter. So I don't know what his motives were. He's a minor league hitting coach. And my dad's coming off a 300 season, and when they won the Texas League, Johnny Keane was the manager in 1947 at Houston, the Houston Buffs in the Texas League. My dad played for him. My dad loved Johnny Keane. And they beat the Mobile team in the Southern League in the Dixie Series, which was the Dodger organization. And their first baseman was the Rifleman, Chuck Connors. So for Rogers Hornsby to say that to anybody is just, I mean, if Bob Kennedy or Joe Medwick had come up to me after I led the AAA in hitting and said, "You never make it, son," I'd be, geez, that's not very nice.
I mean, you think that had to have really affected your dad because of how well he was playing at the time. I mean, he was a highly touted prospect, right?
Yes, he was. And but my dad was a Depression era tough son of a gun too. He could take an old quarter as well. He'd give it right back. As much as you give him, he can give it back. Just a tough breed of character back then.
So something else that we noticed kind of midweek this week was I opened Twitter and I see Keith Hernandez is telling stories. He's got photos of him and Rusty Staub. Look, Mom, no iPad. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Because the last time that we were treated to this was your memoir, your book.
Right.
Did you just happen to just feel in the mood to tweet? What got into you?
Well, I always get Twitter will always send me a notification that I've been mentioned. And I'm sure you get the same thing. So every once in a while, I just go in there and okay, who's giving me a ton of baloney here? So I was in a good mood. God, I don't know. I don't think I was off that day, but I just decided to tweet out. I just saw it was a photo of someone that's put a photo of that photo of Mookie, Rusty, and I. So I said, "This is perfect." So I couldn't resist throwing a little dig in there. You know, look, Mom, no like that, which I thought was pretty funny.
I thought it was great. It was like a mixture. It was like a very contemporary caption to a dig at the contemporary game, which I thought was kind of perfect. It was, look at these guys just watching the game unfold. Are you back on Twitter? You think you'll stick with it, or is it just when you're in the mood, you know, you pull it up?
I could, I suppose. I always just worry about being misinterpreted, you know, and you can get in trouble on Twitter. And you just you have all the good intentions and someone could take it the wrong way and you can have your hands full and, you know, who needs it? So I don't know. I know they got on me yesterday about not doing the doubleheader, but I also have, after tonight, I have the next week off completely. I'm going to Florida to get my days in Florida. I'm taking Hodges, but I'll watch the games. So maybe I'll tweet down there as I'm watching. I'll watch in the morning. I got better things to do, go out to dinner and have fun. Then watch the game live. I can watch in the morning on MLB TV, or I can't get SNY down in Florida because I'm in the 100-mile range, the blackout range for Miami Marlins. I cannot get SNY. It just drives me nuts. If I wanted to watch the game live, I can't even get it on MLB TV because it's blacked out because of the Marlins. So I have to watch in the morning.
So you have the first game of the Braves series, and that's it?
Yeah, National took Saturday and Sunday.
Right. Okay, that's why.
Then I've got the rest of the week off. I mean, I'm sorry. I've got the first two against Arizona, Monday and Tuesday night. Then I'm off Wednesday. Then I come back to work the following week, Friday.
Wow. All right.
But that's always, I'm like, Ronnie's front loaded because Ronnie does his TBS stuff. And I'm always back loaded because Ronnie's gone on the weekends. So it all evens out in the end.
It does.
I will do 110 games by the end of the season.
Meanwhile, you know, you'll be in Florida, just getting those days in. Once again, you're listening to the Shea Anything podcast brought to you by Verizon. It's 5G built right for the Mets from the network more people rely on. It's only on Verizon. All right, 3-batter rule, Keith. Let's talk about 3 particular guys. Marcus Stroman, again, pitched well yesterday. again, he continues to impress with the mixing up the pitches and also the fielding. I mean, I really think he's going to win another Gold Glove this year. He is another infielder on the mound, which I love. Would you consider signing him to an extension? Because he's up after this year. He's playing on a qualifying offer, and clearly he can get it done here.
What about Conforto?
I'm not sure they're, mutually exclusive. I
mean, you got time to think about this, and there's no rush. And you can do it in September. You can do it in August. So I wouldn't do it right now. I wouldn't. You got him under contract. He's pitching for a contract. He's pitching for a big contract. Keep him motivated.
Let's say, okay, so no extension, but you reach this offseason and on free agency, is he somebody you'd want to bring back?
If it is, you can do it, like I said, in August, September. I can't see this team not being in postseason, even with all its injuries. When it gets everybody back, I mean, I have seen our division, and I just can't imagine this team not being in the postseason. What they're pitching, what they got going on. And if they don't get in it, it would be an enormous disappointment. So, you're going to have Stroman pitching in a stretch run the last 6 weeks of the season, which I always call August 15th is the stretch run. When you get down to the last 45, 50 games. He's pitching for postseason. Everybody in the team is motivated. This team's very together, very close. You can do it then. Anything could happen. He could hurt his arm.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen that. It's crazy that he's still standing. It's crazy that anybody's still standing on this team. It's just Dom Smith, of course, slides into home plate on a play that he didn't actually need to. It turned out, busts up his knee.
Yeah, we lost another player that way with an umpire, right? We lost Martinez in spring training running into an umpire.
Yep. And that's an injury that, like a lot of these that you forget about, he was down the line in spring training running after a foul ball. And okay, second of the three batter rule, Seth Lugo, Keith. So the reason that I find this interesting is I think a lot of Mets fans are tired of the should he be a starter or reliever conversation because he's a better reliever than he is a starter. However, like you said earlier in this podcast, the Mets have a lot of relievers. The bullpen's been very good. Would you consider using that strength as a reason to, make Seth Lugo stretch him out and see if he can, at the very least, give you these Joey Lucchesi innings when he gets back?
That's a very difficult question. Lugo did not fare well last year starting. He got lit up pretty tough. I mean, he got roughed up. So I don't know what they're going to do. It's if he stays in the bullpen, who's going to go? I still think, to me, Gsellman has been very much overlooked. He had a terrible spring, and I wasn't sure he was going to make the club. And then all of a sudden, Gsellman has found himself, and he's a major league pitcher, and he's not overpowering. He's using his sinker and his slider. He's pitching to contact. He's pitching smart. He could be your starter. If you're looking for that other starter, you just get 5 out of him. As a bench, just stretch him out gradually. He can be your guy. That when you're looking for that other starter now that Syndergaard is gone, and it's going to come to a point where you're going to need 5 starters because the off days are going to dwindle. Gsellman could be the guy that, he's coming in and throwing multiple innings. He's really suited for that guy that he would in our day be the second pitcher on a doubleheader. He would be the swing guy. He'd be your long guy in relief. Then your doubleheader comes in. He's got the second game of the doubleheader. He can do it. And he's got good stuff. And he's become a major leaguer. It's been really nice to watch him pitch this year. I can see the confidence. He's over all the anxiety now. He knows he belongs in a big league uniform.
Yeah, Luis Rojas went to him to close out last night's game 2 of the doubleheader. He eventually was lifted. He didn't have a great outing, but that shows you at least the confidence that Rojas has in Gsellman right now. And I think that the Lugo question may be a little more nuanced than your average. Should he start or should he be a reliever? I mean, maybe you stretch him out so he can go 3 or 4 innings when he's doing his rehab stint. And then, you figure it out when he gets here. He starts in the bullpen, but if you need him to give you length, he does.
May and Castro has been the best out there.
Yeah.
May has been very, very, very good. But Castro's been just sterling. And so you've already got 2 guys that can bridge. Now, what are you going to do with all these pitchers? How are you going to keep them sharp? Reed Foley's been throwing great. You got Barnes. You bring Lugo in now, and someone's going to have to go. I'm sure it'll be Yenzi Diaz. I mean, he's still on the roster, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, he'll be the one to go. So you're still going to carry 9 relievers. Or is it, 9 relievers, I believe they have. Or are they going to go back to 8? I'm not sure if they don't have 10 relievers right now because they're only going with 4 out of the rotation. I don't have it in front of me. But Diaz will probably go. These are good problems. Not really can't say problems, but quandaries to have as far as a team's concerned. That's how rich they are. That this pitching staff is, and this is the reason why they're in first place right now. Let's face it. I mean, their pitching has just been outstanding, just incredible. I mean, I watched the doubleheader. Colorado, off and on, and I never saw so many embarrassingly bad swings by major league hitters in that Rocky uniform. I mean, it was just they didn't have a clue what was going on.
Yeah, and Rojas said last night that the reason Gsellman and Barnes were the guys to close it out was because Castro and May had full days off. He wanted to give them back-to-back days off because I think he realizes how good they've been and that they've given, the Mets the most important innings probably so far this season other than Edwin Diaz. So,
and Diaz now that's another thing too. He's been overlooked.
Yeah.
He is over it. Okay. This is what Brody Van Wagenen, that's why he went out and got him. This is the Edwin Diaz. And I think he got helped with the COVID season last year with no fans. Because he got off to a little bit of a shaky start in April. If there'd have been people there giving him a hard time, he may not have ever come out of it, but he was able to pitch without a crowd and no negativity coming from booing. And he's been able to relax now, and he's very comfortable in his uniform now, and he's solid. So it is the back end of this bullpen. I don't think anybody has anything close that can come to it.
You just, it's funny because I've done this before on the air too. You just said April when in reality it was, I guess, July last year.
That's right.
It was the version of April in 2020.
Right.
The third guy I want to talk about is Jonathan VR because Anthony Recker made this point last night. He turned to me and he's like, have we ever praised a player so much not based on stats? Right. And I was thinking, yeah, that's kind of true. I mean, Jonathan VR, I have barely looked at his numbers. He's hitting in the low 200s.
Yes.
He's been on base 18 out of the last 20 games, which I think tells you what you need to know. Because every time he gets on base, he seems to create havoc. And that, I think, is why the Mets signed him. And I'm curious to know from your perspective, were there guys that you played with where it was never about the numbers? They just bring something every day that kind of leads to a win.
You're right about VR. I was shocked the other day. He was hitting 211 a couple days ago. But I think he brings a veteran presence. He's the only guy that steals a base for us too. And hopefully that's coming back into the game. And I think he's played a heck of a third base. So has there ever been a player hitting 215? No, I can't say that. I've ever experienced that. You're hitting 215, you're not being too productive. But he's in the middle of things. And when he gets his hits, they're clutch hits. Whether he's driving in a run or he's starting a rally or in the middle of a rally. He sticks his nose right in it. So he's been playing great. He's a veteran, He's a veteran player. He's been around the block.
I guess maybe not to that extent. So if during your playing career, if somebody had been hitting 215, that would have been viewed as totally unacceptable, probably a bench player getting sent down. But do you know what people are saying when they say he's just a winning player? Like, it's not about his numbers. It's about kind of the intangibles that he brings every day.
I don't know if he's ever been in postseason. I have no clue. Is he been in a World Series? I don't know. Call him a winning player. Yeah, he plays style of play is winning style. He plays hard. He gets dirty, and I like the way he comports himself. He's hitting 215, and it's not affecting his defense. And I really don't. We're not allowed in the clubhouse. We're not allowed on the field. We don't know what's going on. But I have this sense that he has a veteran presence in that clubhouse that's very positive. That's my feeling. And I can't swear on a Holy Bible, because I'm not down there. We're not down there. We don't know. So, but I just have that feeling that he's respected in that clubhouse and in game in the dugout.
I like the way you put that. He gets dirty, because it's true. I mean, he's never going to lead off an inning with a walk or a single and go back to the dugout with a clean uniform, unless it's a double play. Like I think Lindor grounded into one last night after VR got on with nobody out. Last thing, Keith, it's kind of been building up steam, this talking point with Luis Rojas, because Andy brought it up on a recent podcast. He was like, who in the National League are you going to make manager of the year over Luis Rojas right now? Given where the Mets are, given how many injuries they've had, and given the amount of decisions that he has to make every night about, Billy McKinney just got here. Let's bat him cleanup. Would you say that you have been impressed by how Rojas has handled the ups and downs of the season so far?
I think you've got to be impressed. This team, like I said, 17 injuries. It's unprecedented. So, manager has to get most out of his players, and he certainly has this team in first place. I think that Louis has to be considered. I don't think in terms of right now. I don't look at manager of the year. I may, in a sideways glance, look at a guy that might be, he's having an MVP season. I don't even think that. We're not even 2 months full into the season. Let's talk about the All-Star break, and then you can start looking. But Louis done a heck of a job right now. Players seem to like him. I mean, I don't know who's making the lineup up. I know they're getting help from the analytics department. What are you going to do? I mean, this lineup they throw out there every day, it's you got McCann hitting third for a couple days. He's done a heck of a job at first base so far. I have noticed that in the lineup, they've stuck all their veterans up on the top of the line. They're top heavy, which really, is it really top heavy? It's top heavy with veterans. Everybody's struggling. So he's trying to get them all bunched together, and the other guys that have been called up, they're at the bottom of the order. And, it's just one of those things where these guys have picked up the slack. We raved about the bench. Everybody talked about Lindor and Carrasco, and they were great pickups, and Walker. But under the radar screen was what they brought in to make this a real strong bench. And this is why this team is still above water, not drowning. Because Peraza is getting a chance to play. He had a nice doubleheader. Everybody's contributing, and this all builds up. It's a very positive thing that happens when a club makes a club pull together. They know that they are beat up bad, and it's like, okay, let me pick up the slack, and I like what I see.
Peraza, what a doubleheader he had. Yeah, I think it's possible that the story of the Mets when the season's over, will be something that happened in August, September, and October. But let's not forget, when we're at that point, to look back and say, the Mets were sweeping doubleheaders with Billy McKinney and Jose Peraza and Khalil Lee, and they didn't even have Janeshwi Fargas because he's hurt. Like that's where we are.
We need to get our players back. we need to get our, and the odd thing too is that our two big players that haven't been hurt, Lindor and Dom Smith, have not been hitting. They've not been hitting. So it's been the other guys. It's pretty incredible. It's very fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that we haven't even talked about Lindor, because that really is the big story. And I could see anyone listening being a little frustrated. Like, you're paying a guy more than $300 million right now to hit 180. Like, how is he not the headline? I get that, but I mean, what else are we supposed to say? The guy's just struggling and continues to look at it positively. I don't know how.
I've seen him get his head down a little bit. He struck out the curveball the other day. I mean, it's eating at him. Trust me. No one wants to come to the park for 2 months and be on the interstate. You know, that's not fun. And I just don't see him pulling out of it right now. I saw some progress from when he was sticking his fanny out and swinging at bad pitches. He was out in front. Now he's waiting more, but now he's not getting the bat through. So pitches he should be hitting, we've all been there as players. You miss them, and then you allow the pitcher to make a nasty pitch. When you're swinging the bat good, you make contact, you put that ball in play, and that at bat's over. When you're struggling, you're not making the contact, you foul it back, and then you allow him to make his pitch and get away with mistakes, because he's had some pitches to hit. He's having a hard time with the breaking ball. He doesn't like the slider right now at all. Down breaking ball is really giving him trouble.
Dom's having an issue with that too. Well, it's been an interesting couple weeks, to say the least, for the Mets. And Keith, we're grateful to have your insight. A reminder: subscribe to the Shea Anything podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And a reminder as well that it's brought to you by Verizon. It's 5G built right for the Mets, from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. Keith, thank you. We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the game tonight. Mets Braves. The series begins tonight. It's a big one. Memorial Day weekend. We will talk to you next week, everybody. Have a good weekend.